Okay, so this is a patch of zucchini out here at our Thomas Open Space location. We grow a lot of zucchini here, so it's really helpful that we have everybody on the same page when it comes to harvest time. We also grow a lot of types of summer squash and just a lot of different varieties of zucchini. So you'll see some yellow zucchini out there, some green zucchini, some striped zucchini, and then over in this area we have summer squash and just some different varieties of summer squash. So harvest wise, the first thing we want to do before we harvest any zucchini is we were harvesting these things into these orange crates down here. These orange crates, as you can see, they have holes in the bottom of them. That's kind of great. We like that because that's great for draining if they get filled with water or anything like that. What's not great is that if you are putting them down, dirt can go inside of them. And zucchini being as fragile as it is, the skin is extremely thin. Especially after we water it, it just gets very paper thin skin. And even your nail will just nick it and put tears in it. And we just want to avoid it at all possible. So what I like to do is, instead of having a single crate, I like to nest some crates together so that I have two. And that way, when I'm going down the field, I'm perfectly able to just drag it behind me and I can just keep it with me the entire time. We never want to just harvest and then walk back to our crate. We want to have our crate next to us all the time so we can avoid walking as much as possible. There's a lot of walking we're going to be doing, so let's just take a look at what we have. So let's come over here. I did pick this field yesterday, so I'm not sure we're going to find a lot of stuff, but it's always good to just look through things. When you are harvesting zucchini, it's really important that you wear long sleeves and gloves. I don't have gloves today, but usually I'm wearing gloves. And if you can, try and put something around your wrist that keeps your sleeve down, because as you reach into the plants, your sleeve might come up and you're going to get lots of scratches and it's going to burn later on after you do this 100 times. So please always wear long sleeves when you're doing this. So I'm just walking down the field right now. These are all green zucchinis right here. The best way to do this is just to be really intentional with what I'm doing. I'm getting in the plants, I'm pulling leaves aside gently. These leaves are very fragile as well. If I push them too hard, they're going to snap. They're hollow on the inside, so they do not have a lot of rigidity. So immediately I found a good sized fruit here, and that's great. So here's a nice sized fruit growing out. The shape is perfect. I really like the shape. It's a little bit tapered, so it's a little bit thinner here, and the bud is a little bit wider. That's awesome. So I am going to decide to take this plant, and I can see that it's got a good length to it. From the tips of my fingers, it reaches past my wrist and pretty much like just barely up my forearm there. That's a great length. I think that's probably going to be about 8 to 9 inches long, maybe a little bit less, but that's a perfect length for me. So when I'm harvesting this, I'm going to shelter the fruit with my hands, because as we saw, or as you'll see, the leaves have lots of little bumps and they're very rough. It's like sandpaper. So any movement I make and that it rubs it against the plant is going to cause it to tear the skin, and we do not want that as much as possible because it just makes the fruit look ugly. So I'm taking both my hands, I'm shielding it on the back side, and I'm twisting. And here's the fruit. Looks really nice. I don't see any tears on it, and that's great. And the last thing I do is I take the squash blossom and I'm just flicking it off with my finger. We don't need to keep that with us. We don't need to make the pack shed people do that. Here's a perfect zucchini, and that's that. And I'm going to gently place it in my crate and keep moving down the field. And I'm okay to drag it behind me because it's nested. There's no dirt that's going to go inside of it. It's not going to get ruined on the bottom. Here's another one. And one thing I didn't mention with the first one is, another thing we're looking for is nice glossy sheen on the fruits. When the fruits get dull, that's a good indication that they're seedy and they're not going to taste as good. So this one's a bit bigger. It is larger, and you can see I just nicked it with my fingernail. They're that fragile. So, but as I was saying, these fruits, it looks very nice. It has this nice glossy sheen to it. It might be a bit bigger than the last one. Size-wise, it's definitely larger. It goes a little bit further up my fingers. I'd say that one's probably about 9 to 10 inches long. It's a bit fatter too, which is fine. So I'm just going to be carefully twist and pull, and there you go. A really nice zucchini. When we place them in our crates, and I didn't do this with the first one, the best way to do this is to keep the stems on one side of the crate wall. That way, they're not going to roll into each other, they're not going to damage each other as we place them. So I'm going to place a line of zucchinis along this, and then I'm not going to have a problem. If they're like all over the place, if they're all different directions, then there's a chance that as we're transporting them, they're going to poke each other and then damage the skin. And we want to try to avoid that. So all of them in the same orientation, all the stems against the wall. So we'll keep coming down. Again, I'm just really carefully pushing aside the leaves. You know, if you can, just try not to push the leaves into zucchinis because that'll cause them to tear. Here's another one. Another one that's nice. It's got this nice glossy sheen to it. Looks like it has a little bit of scarring on it, but honestly, it looks fine to me. So I'm going to take this one as well. Be careful. I'm going to just be carefully pulling it off, and then I'm popping off the dead squash blossom with my finger. And there's another great one. We're going to try and just locate some bad ones real quickly so we know what to not harvest. But as you can see, we've picked 3 nice zucchinis within the span of like 5 or 6 feet. So there's a lot of them. They're very prolific. We have to be very careful about looking with intention when we're going through these plants. So you really have to get into the plants, make sure you're not wearing shorts like I am. So let's just keep going down. We're going to try and look for some less than favorable zucchinis here. And all of them look pretty good because they were just watered, so that they might be harder to find some actual bad ones. Yeah, lots of very nice fruits. Nothing looks bad, nothing looks too diseased, which is nice. If you want to come over here, I'll show you one that it seems pretty obvious we wouldn't take it. But here, if you can get in there and see that one, you see how it's yellow on the end like this? This is a good indication that this one is going bad. It's not going to grow. So if we see that, we want to get it off the plant. So you can see this plant is bad. It's just yellow and it's just really flimsy and it's just not going to grow. So I'm going to take this one and I'm going to pull it out. And I'm just going to pitch it into the field. But get them off the plants. That's the best thing we can do. So I hope that's helpful to everybody, and we're gonna just keep working on it and see how it goes. So one more thing I want to talk about is sizes. Here you see I've got a comparison of all the different sizes we have. We got all the different varieties in the field right now. Here's the yellow variety. That one is about 7, 8 inches long, maybe 9 inches or so. Here's green zucchini, a good size one as well, about 8 inches long. Here we have the striped variety. This one looks to be about 9 to 10 inches long. That's great. Here's one of the summer squash varieties, a striped yellow one, and it's good size as well. And finally, here is the summer squash other variety, and this is about the size we want to harvest that one.